Well, hello, everybody. It is Crystal Diaz here, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert. This is my 12th episode, which means, oh my goodness, I've launched, the Online Vocal Academy has been launched for exactly a year. We're definitely going to have to do some celebrating in the membership this month. I'm super excited to have a very, very special guest on today. All my guests are special, but this one in particular. And before we dive in, though, I want to share a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. And by the way, if you are joining now, I do just go ahead and say hello. We can see your comments here in the chat box. Let me know where you're tuning in from. How are you doing? Let me know, what if you have any questions for us today. All right, today we're talking about breaking stereotypes. So first off, what is a stereotype? A stereotype is simply a generalization about how a group of people behaves. It may be statistically accurate, but it's not universally valid. That is a definition, not from me, that is a definition from Case Western Reserve University Press. So what I really like about this definition is that they talk about the generalization. It might be accurate, but it's not universally valid. So how does stereotyping impact those specifically in the performing arts space? And is it possible to break down those stereotypes? So we're going to dive into this very important topic and more in today's Ask the Expert episode. Now, before I introduce my guest of the month, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Crystal Diaz. I'm a singer and vocal coach at CSMA Studio and co-founder of the Online Vocal Academy. The Online Vocal Academy provides training for people all around the world who love to sing. We're all equally passionate about music and singing, but who doubt their ability to become a great singer. Our philosophy is that if you have a voice, you have the gift of singing. We simply provide guidance and experiences that allow the natural power of your unique voice to shine through. So for the month of May, we're doing something super special inside the Online Vocal Academy. If you've always wanted to compose your own song, but you don't know how, or you think you can't compose because you don't play an instrument or you don't have a musical background, then you will definitely want to check this out. We're doing a songwriting challenge, a songwriting workshop for singers led by guest coach Adam Diaz, who also happens to be my brother. And he is also a chart-topping, award-winning music producer and songwriter. Now, this workshop is totally suitable for beginner singers. Even if you don't play a musical instrument or you don't have any vocal training experience, we've got you. The workshop takes place through the month of May, which is today. It starts on Monday, and you'll be given a professionally recorded original backing track for you to work with, plus weekly training videos to guide you through the entire melody composing process. The goal here, and I'm so excited about this, the goal here is for you to have a completed original melody by the end of May. And who knows, maybe it'll be your very first hit. This is going to be super fun, definitely a creative experience. So if you're looking for a little bit of creativity, this is definitely worth looking into. You're also going to be learning together with our Online Vocal Academy members. So it's going to be a collaborative experience. If you're interested, check out the link wherever you are watching this video. There's in the description box there's a link. Or you can visit songwriter.onlinevocalacademy.com. That's songwriter.onlinevocalacademy.com. All right. My guest this month is singer, actor, musical theater performer, Corinna Chamberlain. Karina's role in a popular TV series as a Cantonese-speaking Caucasian catapulted her to fame and made her a household name in Hong Kong. She's been featured on numerous TV and musical theater productions. She's performed as a singer all around the world, both as a soloist and alongside some of the biggest pop stars in Asia, including Sandy Lam and William So. I am super thrilled to be chatting with her today. Welcome to this month's expert episode, Corinna Chamberlain. Hello.
Hi everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And And thank you for coming here to share your stories and your experiences with everyone. And congratulations on the birth of your beautiful baby boy. Congrats. How are you
Oh,
feeling?
thank you.
All
Wow.
good? Getting used to it?
Yeah, getting used to it. It's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, big learning curve of how to be a mom. So I've got a lot to learn from you. You're the expert
Oh,
at that one at
I
the
don't know
moment.
about that. But, my kids seem to be doing fine. So, all right. And Angela here is here today. Hello, Angela. I see you here. Angela is a member from our online Vocal Academy membership. And she'll be
Mm.
talking and we'll be chatting with her and all of our members later on as well today. All right.
Oh, nice.
So, our topic today is breaking stereotypes, specifically in the
Mm.
entertainment industry. But before we dive into that, just to provide everybody with a little bit of context, could you share what brought you and your family to Hong Kong? Why you all settled here?
Wow, that's a big question. My parents, like I was born in Hong Kong, so birth brought me to Hong Kong. But my parents, in short, the reason why they came to Hong Kong is because they're missionaries, and basically they really felt that God wanted them to come, and God really loved the Chinese people, so they came to Hong Kong to live and to work, and they had kids, and there I am. So in a nutshell, that's why we're in Hong Kong.
Your parents were here before you were born. I actually thought that you all moved here together after you were born. I didn't even realize that you were born here.
Yeah, my brother and I were both born in Hong Kong, born and raised here. So, yeah, my parents learned Cantonese for 3 years before giving birth, so that, uh, as a mom, my mom, she could also speak Cantonese before she had kids. So I thought that was pretty good planning on their side of things, especially being a mom now, I realize how busy it is. So that was pretty good.
That is
Yeah,
very,
but
very good foresight.
yes, so that's why I ended up in Hong Kong and being able to speak Cantonese and everything is because of my parents, and I really appreciate what they're doing here in Hong Kong. So that's why I'm here.
Amazing.
So I've
So you
yeah,
said your mom learned to speak Cantonese in 3 years? Wow.
yeah, they
Fluently.
studied. Well, after, with learning is always a lifelong process. So after studying um, at the Baptist University, it's just all the talking and chit chatting. Or my dad preaches in Chinese, and all of that
Wow.
stuff. It's all practice. When you use it, it's also practice. The same as like singing. Every show is a chance to learn and to practice as well. But I really appreciate it because for my parents, Cantonese is a really tough language.
It's
I
a
still
tough
think it's a
language to
pretty tough
speak and
language.
sing, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty tough language, and for adults to learn it, it's even harder, I think. And also coming from a non-tonal language like English to go to a such a tonal language like Cantonese, even more than Mandarin, I think that's really quite tough. So I really
100%.
appreciate them.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I think they
can
did
I just
really well.
share that my husband has been here for, I want to say, I don't know, 15 years? Can't speak a word.
Oh, really?
So
Well,
that's why I'm like, wow, 3 years is amazing. But you know what? Like you
yeah,
said, you
they
have the
are
right
amazing.
motivation, the practice, and the reason behind it. Your dad was preaching as well. I mean, that's amazing. And it sounds like your parents had a strong goal for you to also be fluent. Did you speak Cantonese at home, or did you speak a combination of both?
We spoke English at home. They wanted us to also have our own home language, and for them as well. Still, Cantonese is very much a second language. It's not the heart language that they grew up in. So, and they also wanted to make sure that living in Hong Kong, that we had good English as well, if
Of
we wanted to
course.
go to the West or anything. So yeah, at home we always spoke English. And actually, my Chinese journey is kind of funny because when I was a little kid, I could speak Cantonese, and I actually went to Cantonese kindergarten. But we went to Australia and New Zealand, where my parents are from. We went there for 8 months for kind of a longer visit when I was really young. And I basically forgot all my Cantonese just in those 8 months, so if you have little kids, they learn language real quick and they forget language real quick. So I really remember coming back to Hong Kong and speaking with another kid and thinking, how come I could understand what he said last time and now I can't? I found it was so strange. I could understand it last time. Yeah, I remember that feeling. So I had to relearn Cantonese, and it was actually slower the next time because I was already a bit older. And my mum basically homeschooled us. We did long distance learning for all of primary school and high school. In the middle of that, we did a few years of a cooperative homeschool with other homeschoolers as well. So basically, my mom's amazing. Yeah, she pretty much homeschooled us the whole time and taught my brother and I some basic Cantonese so that we could, again, get the hang of the language here. But
Amazing.
For me, it really took off when we changed our churches from a English-speaking church to a Chinese-speaking church, and everything is in Chinese. So that was kind of like jumping in the deep end of language, and that's when my Chinese really got better, just because I was listening to it all the time. And then we have like fellowship groups, small groups that we join with the youth, like youth groups and stuff. So all the other kids are speaking Chinese, and my friends, they didn't really have good English, which is good practice for me. So when they don't have good English, they speak Chinese to me. So that means I could practice my Chinese. So I had two friends that they spoke at top speed Cantonese and at the same time. So that really trained me to listen to a lot of Cantonese and listen to people speaking really fast. So that was really good training then. That time was when my Cantonese really got better. Yeah.
And how old were you when you said you took that break and then you had to relearn again? How old were you at that age?
Wow. That break, I think it was when I was in kindergarten, and my Cantonese didn't really get rolling until the beginning of high school.
Oh,
so the whole
quite older.
Yeah.
I see.
I mean, in primary school, Mum was teaching us all the basics, and so we could say, normal things and important things like where's the toilet and stuff like that. But
very important.
Yes, very important. But apart from that, I didn't really speak a lot of Cantonese. I had a few Western friends here in Hong Kong, and who your friends are really makes a huge difference from a language point of view. When you have friends that speak a certain, different language with you, then you learn so fast. They're like amazing teachers. Just when you're young, you try and talk about all sorts of stuff, so you learn a lot.
I think that point is so valid and so important, because I do believe that one can learn anything with the right motivation. So if everybody around you is speaking Cantonese and you genuinely need to know how to communicate because there's no other options, you're going to learn, right?
Yes,
that's probably why
right.
my husband does not feel the need to learn, because I just translate everything for him.
Actually, there's a lot of Westerners in Hong Kong actually, and they do learn a little bit of Cantonese, but it's really hard to really get into it unless you dive into the whole culture, and all your friends around you are speaking Cantonese. And for me, I think I improved faster than my brother, because he's a bit older than me, and his friends were the university students, and so they already had a lot better English. My friends were high school students, and a lot of them didn't really like the subject of English in school. So that meant that I had to speak Chinese. Mine took off a lot faster. So that's, it was really tough, especially in the beginning teenage years, when girls need to talk and you're talking about all sorts of things, and there's maybe things, their friends are unhappy about, and they're maybe crying, but you don't really understand it. But if they're crying and in the middle of saying something that they're unhappy about, you're not going to stop and say, oh, what's that word? Hang on a minute, let me, look it up or something, It was really tough trying to understand everything, and especially the jokes, or when people speak like really upset, and then all their language gets kind of jumbled and that, and you want to understand, but you don't want to ask them to repeat that again slowly. you know
I
that's not
definitely
very
want to
appropriate.
talk.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about that. You said it's being tough in terms of wanting to communicate and wanting to connect with your friends and the people around you. But in a way, that's also been your journey through what you do in your career. I really want to dive
Yes.
into that a little bit more. Let's with the childhood and growing up in Hong Kong with that almost dual identity, did you feel that you had almost two identities, or how did you reconcile that? Can you share with us a little bit about that process of wanting to connect, but also, maybe feeling a little bit different, or realizing that, you're from a different background or whatnot? Share with us a little bit about what that experience was like.
Yeah, we're called third culture kids, and I think there's more and more of us now in the world. And when I was like really little, it didn't really occur to me that I was different, but I noticed that I would often get people coming up and pinching my cheeks, or especially like if we went to China. Well, I'm in China now, but before, when Hong Kong wasn't China, we went to China. And at that point, there was not a lot of Westerners in China. Wow, people would come over and they tap me on the shoulder, and as soon as I look back, they take your photo, and people would come and grab you to take a photo with you, and all sorts of weird things, And
Yes.
you have we go to the playground and get on those merry-go-rounds. And pretty soon, my brother and I felt like we're the animals in a zoo with a whole bunch of people standing around the merry-go-round looking at these two little white kids playing on it. And that was kind of intimidating, but I kind of got used to it. But as I grew up, I started to realize more and more that, hey, not everybody is treated this way. And how come I'm treated a bit different than the other people that I see around me? And I started to realize that I was different than them. And especially when it hit me was in the teen years, of course, because, in the teens, that's when everybody's trying to work out who they are, and they want to fit in, and being accepted by your friends is really important. And I just, found that my friends, they're really nice. They're very interested in me, and they would try their best to help translate some things, or speak slowly and stuff. But I was never their best friend, because still I couldn't understand everything. I couldn't get all the jokes. I couldn't read the magazines, or I didn't know exactly all the talk that was happening. So I was never best friends with any of them. They all had their best friends, and they're all nice to me, but I was still on my own as far as having somebody close. And I, for a while, thought, oh, maybe I should try and be a Westerner again, because my skin's white, and my Chinese is not quite there yet. But already all my friends were Chinese, and I'd started to really get into the culture of the Chinese. And we for a while moved to a Western church and joined the youth group. But I already found that I was quite different to the Western kids as well. Just the whole manner of how they talk and hang out is really different. The Chinese are a lot more, I suppose, they can be quite noisy, but I would say they're a lot quieter. Some people think Chinese is very noisy. I don't know. I think Westerners are very strong and expressive, whereas the Chinese are not as, very, very much in your face. Yeah, the Chinese are not quite that much in your face in the way they talk. So I was a bit intimidated actually by a lot of the Westerners around. So I realized I'm really different from all these Westerners, and I'm different from the Hong Kong Chinese. What'll I do? I'm so different from everybody. And then I was like really upset for quite a while, and I was talking with my parents, and I just want to say that probably in this chat today, a lot of times will come up, that I believe in God and I believe in Jesus, and how it affects me. It's just because I can't, if I'm talking about these kind of subjects, I can't not talk about my faith, because for me, really, what you believe in affects you so much. And because ideas, I think, have consequences. ideas affect what you do and that. And my parents, they were talking with me, and they really believed that, God had a reason for me to be here and to be different. And I needed to not look at the negative side of things, but look at the positive side of things. Because everything has something negative about it, you always have a price to pay for something. But then there's also the good things, after paying for your buffet meal, why not just enjoy it rather than thinking about, how much it cost? So I was thinking, okay, so I need to be positive about this I'm different kind of issue and not fitting in kind of issue. And I realized in Chinese they have a term called a middleman, where you can be somebody in between and help maybe solve arguments, or maybe you can help translate some things and do some go between kind of communications. And I realized that I could be that kind of person. I could understand the Chinese culture and the Western culture, and I could help them communicate better. I remember quite clearly when I was with some Western friends in a mall in Hong Kong, a shopping mall, and Hong Kong Chinese don't sit on the floor. I mean, there are Chinese from other places that sit on the floor, but not not Hong Kong Chinese. They don't sit on the floor in a mall. For them, that's pretty dirty. But my Western friends, they're just all hanging out, and they're gonna, sit on the floor and everything like that. And the guards come over and shoo us off, And at that moment that we were sitting down on the floor, I was feeling a little bit uneasy, because I'm like, the people here don't really do that, And they don't understand. They're like, what? Why did you sit on the floor? What kind of ridiculous place is this? And they're explaining to them, what the culture is and how it's different. The way they think about it is different. I also did a show with a bunch of New Zealanders, because there was a New Zealand company that came to Hong Kong, and we did a big dance performance. It was actually fashion and dance. It was called Wow, the show. And we had Hong Kong dancers and Kiwi dancers all together, working together. And you know how Westerners are a lot more direct in giving instructions. If it's something that you're not supposed to do, they'll say it really straight to your face, with no kind of politeness. But they are not being disrespectful. They just might say, oh, don't stand in that box, you're not allowed there, But for the Chinese, they'd say, oh, sorry, we cannot have you standing in the box. Is it okay if you stand outside there, or something, They will add a whole lot of fringes around it. So my Chinese friends were starting to get a lot of these really straight in your face instructions and stuff. And they were starting to feel really offended and starting to feel as if there's prejudice, they don't like the Chinese, they're being nasty, they're looking down on us, this kind of stuff. And I was able to just watch a few times what was happening. And then I was able to explain to them, oh no, they're not being disrespectful or rude to you at all. That's just the way they talk, That's just their normal way of letting you know what the rules are. And I was able to explain to the Hong Kong friends, that you're fine. They're not prejudiced. They're not looking down on you, and after that, people got on with each other a lot better. So I found that was one of the big things that I could have in Hong Kong, is that I could be a middleman in between cultures and help people communicate better and understand each other better. So yeah, that's in my teens, that's one thing that really helped me, was to look on the good side of things, not just dwell on the negatives or the price that I have to pay, but to look on, what I get from it.
I love that. I love it. I mean, there's so many amazing little nuggets of wisdom in what you just shared, those stories. And I love that image of being in the middle. But, going from childhood in terms of feeling like you had to choose, and then realizing that I don't have to choose. I can be in that happy middle, and that can be where I'm supposed to be. And being that bridge of between different cultures, I think that speaks a lot to who you are as a person, and also the journey that you've gone through as well. I mean, I think that is so important now more than ever, to be bridging, to be uniting, and to be elevating that cultural understanding. And now I want to talk. It's interesting because you're talking about local audiences, Chinese audiences versus a more international audience. Do you find that as a performer, you actually do have to change how you're performing depending on who you're performing to? What is that experience like for you?
Yes, I do, very much so. And I suppose because with how my career has kind of got a whole lot of different aspects to it. Like I do musical theater, and that's a very, that's my profession. I know how to be a musical theater performer. So when I go and do those kind of shows, it's all about my skill and doing that character well, doing that singing well. But in Hong Kong with the Chinese, apart from being the theater artist, I'm also a pop artist. And that's a whole different kind of a being artist that's a whole different art, I should say. And it means that the way I talk to people is also very different, because a pop artist to me is really about sharing your life with people. It's about who you are, not only your music or your acting. It's, who you are, how you dress, how you talk, and all that kind of stuff. And so it really, for me, it really makes a big difference, especially with the Hong Kong people, where it's, I think, for me in Hong Kong, the culture of girls is, yes, of course, you have a lot of girls that are a lot more strong and tough and like that. But in general, the way they speak is a lot softer. I think it's really funny when I speak in Cantonese, it's really different than I speak in English. Apart from the language, it's just the whole feel of it.
100%,
is a lot more gentle and I suppose gentle is the word. Kind of more cute.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is?
For you personally.
It's interesting. I think it's just understanding the culture. For me, communication is more than just the words, but understanding how to help somebody, their heart, feel or understand what I want them to understand. Like I've been married for a few years now, and I read a book called The 5 Love Languages. It's kind of a similar thing. Maybe my husband's language is gifts. He feels love through gifts, and maybe I feel love through words of affirmation. So if I just keep on giving him words of affirmation, he won't feel my love. So I need to buy gifts for him so that he feels he feels my love. He gets that communicated to his heart. So I think with Chinese and communicating with them, I found that I need to understand their feelings about things, and I want to help them understand that I respect them. I want to get the message to them. So I speak it in a way that will get to their heart. In a nutshell, that's kind of how I feel. So with the Chinese, if I want them to feel more respected or something like that, I understand, like going into TVB in backstage, if there's some other actors or actresses that are well known and they come in, I need to say, oh, hello, good morning. And if I remember their name, say their name as well. Otherwise they feel disrespected, oh, how come you're so disrespectful? And I just realized it's a thing of the heart. So I want their heart to feel like I respect them. And I do, I might just feel really groggy because I just woke up. But, I realized for them to feel that I respect them, then I need to do this. And so I'm like, okay, sure. To me, it's like saying, I love you, is to work out how they feel. So
Amazing.
that's why my voice kind of changes too when I speak Chinese.
Yeah.
Because I realize they will feel different. They will feel more scared of me if I speak more not quite so cute sound.
Cute sounding.
Like if I'm like my Chinese is kind of 即係講廣東話咁就會可愛少少咁樣得意啲 you know the sound is really different than Western. Yeah, it's really
what's
funny.
Interesting, what's really fascinating also about how you're describing that is there's this study that has, and I talk about this study quite a bit when I'm teaching, is that the tone of the voice accounts for so much of your meaning. And only, I believe it was 58% of a person's delivery or identity or how they're presenting themselves, 58% is communicated through body language. 37% is by the tone of the voice. Only 7% is the words. So the words itself mean so in terms of communicating what it is that you're trying to communicate and what is received. It's actually your body language and the way in which you're saying it or the tone of your voice that matters the most. And I think that is really key about how you've been describing it is I think what you said about you could choose to look at things in different ways. I think it's possible for a person to be in that environment and feel limited because they might feel in a different perspective that I can't be this way, so I'm feeling limited, but you don't think of it that way. And I think that part is what is very inspiring, is that you look at it and how can I connect, then, and in that way, there's actually more freedom in that, because when you can connect with more people and you know how to do that, you can impact more lives. So I think that in that way, how you've just reframed it is so inspiring and something that I believe that all of us can think about and learn from. So thank you for sharing that. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about in terms of presenting yourself and in terms of what you do you have troubles with typecasting in Hong Kong productions? I want to jump into that a little bit. We're going a little bit over time, but this is such a fascinating topic. I don't want to let you go yet. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, of course. It is a very fascinating topic.
I'd love to know, what are some of the challenges with typecasting that exist in Hong Kong productions for you? And do you feel that there's any shift at all? But first, please do share some of your experiences with that.
Yes. Well, as far as typecasting goes, I mean, in the whole industry of like being an actor and actress, you do typecast. We have a casting and they choose people that seem to fit the role. So a lot of it is, I think, not prejudice. Is really just, you don't really look the character, which is a very, understood thing. But I think there's another thing apart from just being a character, which is the whole culture. If they will really like or accept or have room for you in the industry. Like in Hong Kong, I think the young people or the Hong Kong public, they really like things that are similar to them. They don't like, this is very general speaking, of course, I'm speaking overall, but more than the West, we like things that are like, wow, that's really different. Wow, everything, everybody's, standing out and all that. But in Hong Kong, I feel that they like, even with singing, everybody's voice sounds pretty much the same, the way they sing. It's all kind of a similar kind of feel. All the music is all a similar kind of feel. It's only tweaked a little bit to sound. Maybe this sound a little bit of jazz sound in it. This has a little bit of R&B in it, but pretty much it's all the same. And that's the culture that is here. So I had to understand that. So the thing with typecasting, I think, is it's important to know what I am, who I am. It's important to know the rules that are of the game in the industry. It's important to understand how people think, and then try and find your place to wiggle in. I can't, one little me change a whole industry. I can't one little me change a whole culture. I have to accept them. I have to accept myself. I have to accept them, and then find out how to wiggle myself in my, what can I use of me to communicate with the way they are, not try and change them. You shouldn't be like that, you shouldn't be like that, you should change. Rather than doing that, try and how can I use my who I am to communicate with who they are. That's a very concept kind of thing, but that's the way that I approached it. And I found that if I do, in Hong Kong, there's not a lot of roles for a white girl. But now, when they need a white girl who speaks Cantonese, there's not a lot of people who can do it. And also my heart, I think, to try and understand the Chinese culture and try and do more things their way has helped them to feel like, oh, you are really accepting us. Oh, you are thinking about our heart. And people start to connect with you more because I think they feel that effort to be understood. And I think that is one thing that's really helped with just as being an artist to be accepted by the Hong Kong public, is they feel that I'm trying to understand them. So rather than just express myself. Yeah, so that's
I love that.
That's a general direction that I've had, which I really thank my parents for, because it's a lot of it's the way they think about things, and about caring for others and put yourself in their shoes. And I had struggled a lot of over the years, and especially with singing, because I want to talk a little bit about singing. I struggled with my tone of voice and how to sing canto pop music, because I had mostly listened to Western songs growing up, and I wasn't really interested in canto pop when I was growing up, so to be honest, and I listened to mostly Western stuff, and then I studied musical theater, and so the whole training and everything is very projected, the way you use your voice, and it's also very character training, and also very versatile styles, because in musical theater we have, from Les Miserables, we have to Dreamgirls, all sorts of styles, and you have lots of pop styles now, and you have Defying Gravity, kind of really belty sound. You
Elsa.
have all sorts of sounds. Yeah.
Frozen.
You have Elsa. You have all sorts of sounds that you need to do, But in pop, you have to have one sound that's you. And that is Karina, when you hear that is Karina. And how to find that after being trained to do a whole ton of different sounds and different voices was really confusing for me. And how to get the culture in my voice, the culture of being a lot more quiet, a lot more soft. That was really tough for me. The technique and the culture, how to get that in the voice. And I think I still don't sound like a Hong Kong normal canto pop singer, I should say. But I think I've been able to mix it. Like, I've at least been able to learn some of it and mix it with what I already have and the way my voice sounds, so that at least they think, yes, that sounds a bit like what I normally listen to. So
I love that.
It's a bit different. It sounds more like what I normally listen to. Yeah.
We're definitely gonna deep dive into this. I know 100% my members in the Online Vocal Academy are gonna jump on this question, because that is definitely something in terms of finding for the pop style, in terms of finding, or commercial pop style, finding your own voice, and what is that? How do you find that? But how you just described it also is what's interesting, is that how you've described it is actually very much how you describe the way that you perceive the world, in terms of a blending of different things. It's not in terms of I must be this way or that way. It's I won't ever be fully that way. I won't ever be fully that way either. So let's find a happy middle that is me. And I think that can be real. I think everybody can relate to that. Anyone who loves to sing will be able to relate to that, because I think one of the struggles definitely is, well, I don't sound like my favorite singer. I don't sound like, I can't hit those notes like Beyonce or whoever it is. And there's conflict when that happens. I mean, again, I also want to highlight something that when you were speaking, something that came to mind is that idea of, not forcing change, and that idea of understanding and being empathetic and understanding what is the general norm, not to assume that that is the true universal norm, but understanding the general norm. And your place there is not to force change, but for you, it's more about flowing into the change more harmoniously, flowing and accepting into that change. Those were the images that came to mind as you were speaking. I just thought, how lovely that idea was. And I think it does relate to that, the quote by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie that I posted yesterday in preparation for this interview, which is, the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. But what you're saying is understanding that story, going deeper, not trying to change another person's story, but through understanding, coming to an elevated understanding. And I think how you put that was very, very beautifully done. Okay, so we have taken way too much of your time, and I know my members are waiting in the Zoom room right now for us to dive a little bit more into specifics. I mean, I've got so many more questions for you here, but we're going to go ahead and jump into our Zoom session. Thank you so much again. Before I let you go here, I would love to know. Oh yes, for sure. I'd love to know, what's on the horizons for you? Could you share with everybody what's coming up? What can we look forward to? Productions, new CDs? Let us know.
Oh yeah, if you're in Hong Kong, in June and in August, I'll be working with the Hong Kong Orchestra, a City Chamber Orchestra, and doing 2 shows with them. So if you're in Hong Kong, and you'd love to hear some good orchestra music, then please come. Love to have you come and join us, especially as things are getting rolling a little bit after, COVID's still here, unfortunately, but as things are starting to get a bit more under control. So theater people, we really would appreciate your support if you are able 100%. To come, and we'd love to have you come. So that's, for me, is my next step, as in the next few months of what I'm doing. So, and I hope after that, later on, that I'll be able to do some more online stuff and sharing music online. So that'll be the next step after that. So thanks so much.
Amazing. And where can we follow you so that people can, where's the best place? Is it Instagram? Is it YouTube? Where's the best place for people to stay
connected
updated?
In that? Yeah. If for my lifestyle kind of stuff, it's Instagram. I also put my posters and show updates on that. If I have lives, I usually do that on Facebook. And on YouTube, I have a lot of my MVs and my music and my shows that I put on YouTube. So yeah, whichever platform you're on, I'd love to see you there. But those are the 3 that I usually use. And
okay,
Karina
so I know.
is how you can find me.
Okay, do you have a Facebook handle or something specific?
My page is just Corinna Chamberlain. Yeah. So can we put that here or not?
I'm putting that right here. Is that correct? IG Dancing Karina and Facebook at Corinna Chamberlain?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now you all know where to find her, and then you can follow Karina. Thank you again so much. Online Vocal Academy members, don't forget that we have a members. The fun is not over yet. The conversation is not done. We have our members-only Zoom session, private session with Karina coming up. We're going to be diving more into specifics about her singing on stage, TV, and recording studios. So OVA members, we will see you in a minute or 2 on Zoom. Again, for everyone else watching, if you're interested in joining us for the singing workshop, the songwriting workshop for singers, where you'll have the opportunity to co-write an original melody for a full song with a chart-topping, award-winning music producer, then head over to songwriter.onlinevocalacademy.com or click the link in the description where you're watching. The early bird bonus does expire today, so be sure to sign up if you are interested in that. Thank you again, Karina, for your stories,
Thank you so much
your
for
insight. And thank you all for spending time with us today. Thank you all for watching here. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. All right. Thank you, Karina. We'll sign off now.
Okay.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.